This video is sponsored by Reverb.com. It's a great place to buy and sell used equipment, and they also have software. And funny enough, you can buy SignVibes plugins over at Reverb. And SignVibes has also produced a couple of digital oscillators for the Minilogue XD and the Prologue. All right, hello there and welcome to Bo Beats. My name is Bo and today I am joined by Etienne from Korg. Can you tell us a little bit what is it you do at Korg?
Okay, so I work in the analog synthesizer team, but I'm a software engineer. So I do some software development and I do some product planning, some UX, some overall instrument design, a bit of everything. So sometimes I'm also a bit in the hardware at the higher level. Yeah.
What future are you and Korg envisioning for the digital oscillator on the Prologue and Minilogue?
Well, I guess at first this is to expand the current platform we have as much as we can first. There's already quite a lot of interesting content out there, but of course we want to have more. And yeah, there's some minor increments and fixes that we want to do first before thinking of a broader kind of future for that. So there's already things to figure out in the current plan before we push that further. But in terms of overall direction, we're going to continue doing full analog stuff and also hybrid stuff and full digital things. Even from the analog synth team, you'll see at the booth we have this full digital like Monotron format DIY kit.
Can you speak a little bit more about this? Is this like the SDK synthesizer? I don't know the name, but the smaller one.
Yeah, so this is kind of a first product in a side brand of Korg, which is called NewTech, which is focused on DIY kits. Sometimes these will be full analog DIY kits. In this case, it's a full digital mini synth, which is based on it's on the same code base as the Minilogue XD and the Prologue. So it has kind of like the runtime for the oscillator, the custom oscillators, and the custom effects in there. It's using the same SDK, has the same API. So the same code will run on any of the three platforms.
What was the design philosophy behind doing this small DIY thing?
Well, actually, we just wanted to make the entry point like really easy for anybody who just wanted to try it out, play around a little bit. At first, we released a Prologue. Of course, the price point is very high. And then, of course, the Minilogue XD coming out just makes it a bit more accessible to a lot more people.
How easy is it to... I'm totally dumb when it comes to programming. Could I make something with this little synthesizer and import it into the XD?
Well, it's not really made to be super easy. Actually, I was facing kind of a dilemma. Either I make it really easy for everyone, which could involve also a lot of work. And in any case, if you're doing DSP, at one point to make something interesting, you're gonna have to know what you're doing. So actually, I ended up going to the direction of making it as bare bones, simple, portable as possible, and aimed at developers. So you need to know what you're doing in terms of programming, but also you can just really focus on your idea for an oscillator. Everything is taken care of everything for you, so you don't have to think about the overall structure of the synth. It's a very compact piece of code focused around an idea, a sound idea.
So that brings me into another question that I actually got from a Facebook group. I think it was the Minilogue or Prologue Facebook group. Have you guys any thoughts or ideas or plans about making some kind of more beginner-friendly user interface to somehow craft or create your own oscillators or shape or modify an oscillator on the device or on a software side?
I can't really say if there's a plan or not about it. Of course, these are ideas that are floating, of course. So whether we do it or not, to what degree, that's still a bit blurry. But with this SDK is that, I mean, it's open. It's open source. License is open source. I mean, anybody could build tools on top of that exports oscillator to that format and compiles to go onto these synthesizers. So it's also open to the community. Somebody wants to put the effort, has a good idea to make it very easy to construct those, then there's a possibility to do that. So yeah.
Talking about the software side of Prologue and Minilogue, what kind of plans do you have for the librarian?
Yeah, the library and yeah, actually it's staying in the same kind of form. I mean, there isn't. I can't say that we're gonna definitely do an editor that is gonna have like VST support or things like that. That's not something that's really in the plans. Actually, we're really focusing on the hardware side of things in our team. So really, as we can provide a nice, easy to use utility for doing things, we're going to keep on doing that. And yeah, as much as possible, I want to keep the interfaces open. So of course, like all the MIDI SysX like implementation is available. So like the community is also always welcome to create more software tools on top of these things. And there's a way to do this.
So speaking about the hardware, what kind of general plans do you have in terms of maybe new functions or things you want to improve upon when it comes to Prolog, XD, the XD module?
Nothing that I can't really disclose at this point. So yeah, all I can say is that we're going to continue into the different directions I mentioned.
Let me throw some ideas at you, and I always want to hear what you think about them. So increasing pattern length from 16 to 64.
Yeah. I'll talk on a personal basis. Yeah, yes. So just me as a synth user, yes, I'm totally for that. I like having long pattern possibilities. Always the challenge, in the log series, we're really focused on ease of use, have an easy to understand interface that's very direct. And so having the proper visual feedback for the actions, knowing where you are in the sequence, that's always really important. So it's striking the right balance there. Of course, personally, yes, I would love to have infinite pattern lengths. And yeah, so we're just going to figure out the right interfaces and that fits with the concept of the instrument. Because in the log series with Prolog, Monolog, Minilog, and the XD, there's always a kind of a direction for each of these. They don't try to do everything. Each of them has its own direction, and we just want to figure out the right features for that direction. Yeah.
So one thing that I'd also thought about as an idea I wanted to throw your way is, how about probability? You could have it maybe not as a button, or you can just have it as a software function for the sequencer as an option that is available to those who want it. Is that something you could consider?
Again, on a personal basis, yes, totally. I love probability. So if you look at Volca Modular, Volca Drum, so the stochastic sequencer on the Volca Modular, which is this kind of state machine with multiple probability distribution of motion through the sequence. That was my personal little pet idea that I really wanted to fit in there. And also on the Volca Drum, every step can have probability assigned to it. I really like to play with this stuff. So definitely, as I'm involved in the projects, I'm always kind of pushing for these ideas wherever I can. Yeah.
Would it be just like a hypothetical? Would it be possible maybe to open up, say, the LFO to different destinations that you could choose from the menu instead? Would that be technically possible on the Minilog?
Yeah, that's stuff we're considering. Again, that kind of ties in with the complexity of the interface. One thing that we're really trying to avoid is too much menu diving. So as much as we can fit that in the right balance there, that's definitely things that we're thinking about. And with the SDK, of course, in terms of evolution, things that I'm interested in is, expand the way you can, program the synth, not only doing DSP, but having a more complex API where you could actually modulate parameters or have a bit more access to the overall structure of the synth from the SDK. So that's something I would love to kind of expand on the current architecture. Yeah.
Speaking about the hardware, one thing that I saw mentioned on some of the forums and that I personally also would enjoy is it technically possible to get a graphical representation on the LCD screen for, say, the AMP envelopes, so you can see the shape?
Yeah, that's something that could be feasible. Again, as it can fit within the UI, the way you access this stuff, when is it displayed, and things like that. Yeah, definitely, that's something that could be considered. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's all I want you to. I know you can't say too much, but.
I'm recording. learning the idea.
Yeah. And here's another suggestion, I would say, from the user base that I want to throw your way and see what you think about it. Having the sequencer trigger from note on values from the keyboard.
On the monologue, I think we did that. We did have that. This, so yes, this is something that we're considering. So
that's awesome.
We know people want that.
One feedback I got from users was that it was a little bit annoying when you're loading custom oscillators, because if you made a preset that uses a particular custom oscillator and you load the oscillator in the wrong slot, this becomes a problem. Is this something you think about or will address somehow? Or what's your thoughts on it?
Yes, that's definitely something I'm thinking about, how to make that, to improve that side. I wanted to keep the whole system simple and direct. Of course, also the architecture, we're working on embedded devices, which are not, it's not a full-fledged CPU, like Intel CPU in there. So working at a very low level. I'm trying to do it without having complex identity system that detects which
because if you have identity systems, it becomes a problem with all the third-party developers, and it would strangle the freedom, I guess, also. Because then you'd have to verify and stuff. And
yes, we'll need a centralized system to verify, provide IDs and stuff. And then the whole thing becomes kind of big. And then you need a better kind of management system through the UI to navigate these things. So I wanted to keep it very bare bones. You have a slot. You are responsible for your slots. You are the, you're the master of your little system. So you're responsible for it. And the good side of it is that it's really relatively simple to understand. So, but I'm thinking of ways to try to improve that. There are things that could be done. So, of course, as we work a little bit on the SDK and there's an incremental revision, definitely that's something that we're going to look at and try to do something for that.
Very theoretically, do you foresee that Korg maybe drop firmware updates or software updates where we'll see more, say, mod effects added or something like that, or maybe you guys provide a LFO in the mod section or something?
Well, I can't definitely say for sure. I think what we can expect is, in terms of new effects added, I don't necessarily think that would be the case. Perhaps, custom content that you would load in the custom slots, definitely that may be possible. And of course, in terms of if we improve the SDK and we allow exposing certain parameters, I can't say that we're definitely going to do that. But if we were to do that, then perhaps doing LFOs that control parameters through some effect slot would become possible. But it's something we're thinking about, not clear if we're going to actually do it.
What kind of plans do Korg have to support the sort of, programmer community that will start to build, that we already see start to build custom oscillators and custom effects? What's the plan to support that from your end?
Right now, it's from one-to-one basis. I always try to reach out as much as I can with developers and try to have to be in contact so that we can exchange information and at least so I can try their oscillators also, just to have an idea what's going on. So for the time being, it's going to stay on that basis. So we're not really planning to build some kind of software platform to kind of harness this whole thing. So yeah, we have some help. There's a few people that jump in to keep communication. There's Ebon, you can see over there, that also is helping out in communicating with developers. So yeah, for the moment it's going to be this way. Yeah. So definitely, I would encourage developers out there to get in touch. Just send in an email, get in touch, and so that we can chat, that I actually hear what we can do to make this thing better for them, and that we know what they're up to, so that we can also promote some of this stuff on the Korg website. So definitely, just everybody send an email in.
Yeah, people definitely should. Yeah. Okay, so I think those were all the hard questions that I have for you, and I just wish you the best of luck with keep developing these amazing synthesizers. I'm of course a big fan of especially the Minilogue. It's been a pleasure to use. So thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you.
I want to end off by thanking Reverb.com for sending me to Superbooth. Be sure to sign up with them using my link in the description.